Right, so settle in, darlings, because honestly, this isn't just a story. It's a cautionary tale, wouldn't you agree? A visceral excavation of disappointment. You see, I've always believed, haven't I, that true luxury isn't about gilded surfaces, it's about a seamless experience, an effortless unfolding of delight. Something, alas, that the Marylanza Suites Spa Resort seems to have rather misunderstood. It began, as these things often do, with a fervent hope. I saved, hadn't I? Not because I needed to, heavens no, but because the photos online, the promises of a tranquil escape, they whispered to something wanting within me. A yearning for serenity. My grandmother, bless her shrewd little soul, always said a beautiful setting could soothe even the most capricious of spirits. And my spirit, quite frankly, feels perpetually capricious these days. The first sign, of course, should have been the location. Quiet location, they claimed. A gentle fib, wouldn't you say? I envisioned crystalline seas a stone's throw away. Instead, it was distant. A considerable walk, or relying on their questionable bicycle service. I mean, honestly, forcing one to plan leisure time, it's almost hostile, isn't it? It's like saying, enjoy our establishment, but only on our terms. And the rooms, oh, the rooms, advertised as suites, but feeling distinctly stuck in a time warp, like stepping into a grandmother's parlor after she's been gone for decades. Everything seemed beige, a beige of despair, really. No fresh bloom of color, no invigorating modern touch. It's vital, darling, to surround yourself with beauty. I remember my aunt in Kiev, her flat always overflowing with vibrant textiles and antique samovars. It was a feast for the soul. This was a starvation diet for the aesthetic senses. It's a basic principle of human psychology, you know, our environment directly impacts our mood. It's all Pavlov's dogs, really, just with floral wallpaper instead of salivation. The Wi-Fi, or rather, the lack thereof, was a masterclass in frustration. Honestly, in this day and age, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. I needed to video call my mother to share the illusion of contentment with her, to pretend, and to be stripped of that connection. It felt like a deliberate severance. Has anyone considered the loneliness of a digital exile? Do they even care about the seamless flow of information that defines modern existence? Then, the bathrooms. Oh, the bathrooms. A chipped bath, a toilet on the verge of quitting. It's unsanitary, a flagrant disrespect for basic hygiene. And the emotional fallout, because of such things can cascade. You begin to question everything. The cleanliness of the sheets, the intention behind every surface you touch. It breeds unease, a pervasive anxiety that sours the entire experience. It's like presenting a priceless painting in a dilapidated frame. The beauty is diminished, the impact lessened. And the audacity to advertise a 4-star experience while simultaneously nickel and dimming one at every turn. A fitness center, extra, a spa, extra, even tap water at the buffet required an expenditure of funds. I nearly choked on my overpriced sparkling water. I mean, really. You've already extracted a significant sum for the privilege of entering their establishment. To then charge for the most basic of necessities. It's predatory, darling, a thinly veiled attempt to exploit the vulnerable. My grandfather, he was a businessman, and he taught me that profit should never come at the expense of dignity. The revulsion crests when I recall the treatment of other guests. Last day of holiday, and they just took the sunbeds, removed them, to accommodate a party for someone called two top dogs. Can you imagine the affront? Begging for a small patch of sunlight, relegated to plastic cups, while others sipped from glass. It's stratification, darling, a blatant display of social hierarchy. It screams, your money is welcome, but your presence is less val.
It's incredibly demoralizing, isn't it? You suddenly feel like an outsider, an unwelcome guest in someone else's paradise. It echoes through.
Oh, you know, I was just looking into what happens near Marylanza Suites Spa Resort. Like, the scams and stuff. And it's so sad, you know. Tourists come here to relax, but some people just want to take their money. So businesses near Marylanza Suites Spa Resort, they can be tricky, like especially the souvenir and electronics shops. They act nice at first, but then, oh no, there was this one story where older tourists, like grandparents, would walk in because the shopkeepers promised cheap laptops or phones. But then, boom, they ask for a deposit with a card, and suddenly, the tourists' bank accounts get emptied. Like, how could you do that? That is so wrong. And the worst part, they make them come back the next day to pay the rest. But really, they just steal more money. I bet those poor people didn't even realize until they got home and saw their bank statements. And then what? Ray on the other side of the world can even go back to yell at them. And another thing, some shops near Marylanza Suites Spa Resort, they don't even let you pay cash. Like what? They surround you, pressure you to use a card, and then who knows? Maybe they clone it, maybe they charge extra, and they don't give receipts. So how can you even prove it? I bet some tourists just freeze, Like, they on vacation. They don't want trouble, so they just pay and leave. And the shopkeepers, probably still there, doing the same thing to someone else tomorrow. It's just You come to Marylanza Suites Spa Resort thinking it's all sun and fun. But then you have to watch out for these people. Like, why can't everyone just be nice?
Okay, here is the Beyond the Suites, a traveler's advisory, businesses around Marylanza Suites Spa Resort. Gentle, slightly melancholic music begins. A sophisticated but clearly concerned tone. Good day. Following our overview of the Marylanza Suites Spa Resort itself, it's time to turn our attention to the surrounding area, the businesses that promise convenience, entertainment, and a taste of local life. And frankly, it's a bit of a letdown. The overall impression, after a thorough examination of traveler experiences, is one of pervasive disappointment. Businesses near the Marylanza Suites Spa Resort, generally speaking, appear to operate with a concerning lack of care, a penchant for overcharging, and a disinterest in genuine hospitality. It feels almost predatory. It's as if a thin sheen of tourist-friendly veneer hides a rather cynical core. I confess, it's rather distressing to see. Let's be clear, this isn't about isolated incidents. Patterns emerge. A consistent theme of unmet expectations, of promises broken and wallets lightened. Which, frankly, rubs me the wrong way. I find it a disheartening echo of a world where profit is prioritized over people. Let's start with what, at first glance, appears to be aiming for a little bit of style: the boutique shops. These establishments, such as Code Concept Store, attempt a curated, fashionable air, but behind that attempt, the reports suggest a rather unpleasant reality. One customer recounted an experience with a shop owner displaying remarkable rudeness. 36 years in the business, she allegedly boasted, and then proceeded to eat a focaccia mid-customer interaction, responding with a mouthful of bread and greasy fingers handling fabrics. The assistant wasn't much better, seemingly annoyed by the very presence of shoppers. It's a rather vivid image, isn't it? It leaves me with a peculiar unease, a sense of being unwelcome. It's not just bad service, it's a demonstration of disrespect, and a completely unacceptable standard for most shops the world over. It seems these businesses believe they deserve your money rather than earn it. The implication is clear: shops of this nature in the area tend to act as if they're doing you a favor, not the other way around. Now, let's address the dining options. And this is where the situation truly descends into a state I can only describe as troubling. Restaurants here, in many instances, seem to be trading on location alone, delivering food and service that fall far short of acceptable. El Molino Blanco, for example, presents itself as an upscale dining experience. However, the reviews are, to put it mildly, scathing. A cascade of complaints regarding indifferent service, particularly towards non-Spanish speaking customers, is incredibly disheartening. One traveler booked a birthday celebration only to find themselves ignored, their special occasion ruined. Others reported instances of food poisoning, suspecting the fish soup. And let's not forget the singing chef, a loud distraction rather than an entertainment. One can't help but ask, is the promised ambience actually masking a shockingly slapdash approach to customer care? The reports of massively overpriced portions, €35 for 2 shrimp and some rice in a paella, are frankly insulting. And the Christmas Eve fiasco, where diners received only soup and salad after waiting over 2 hours, is nothing short of a scandal. Even receiving a partial refund felt like a victory against a tide of indifference. These establishments seem to function on a take-it-or-leave-it principle, believing the sheer volume of tourists will guarantee their success. Then there's Aroma De Asia. While the waiters might offer a polite facade, the food is apparently a disaster, small portions served at inflated prices. Some patrons even experienced food poisoning. And adding insult to injury, the establishment is often closed despite advertised opening hours.
It strikes me as a business operating with a distinct lack of integrity. It's a fleeting, hollow promise of flavor and service. The situation doesn't improve when looking at more casual dining spots. Seoul Kitchen Tenerife Arcade is seemingly plagued by profoundly slow and dismissive service, with waitstaff actively avoiding customers. People report being totally forgotten, receiving no attention, and even being openly scolded for requesting menus. It's as if the staff resent your presence, and I find that profoundly upsetting, a sort of basic principle broken. One traveler found after some good food they had to ask for the bill, and when prompting for it, they were shooed. It's not simply inefficient, it borders on hostile. And the reports of discrepancies on the bills, mysteriously added items, suggest a concerning level of love.